The story of Talking Drum. In the village lived a little boy named Tunda. He was curious and loved asking questions, especially about the magical drum that hung in the village square. The elders said it was enchanted by the ancestors and could speak. But no one had heard the drum in years. One day, Tunda's teacher, Ms. Amina, brought the class to the square to talk about the importance of stories in their culture. She explained how stories were passed down from generation to generation to teach lessons, keep traditions alive, and celebrate their way of life. As the teacher spoke, Tunda couldn't help but stare at the talking drum. "Why doesn't the drum speak anymore?" he asked. Ms. Amina smiled, kneeling beside him. "Perhaps, Tunda, it's waiting for the right question to be asked." That night, Tunda couldn't sleep. He thought of all the stories he'd heard and wondered what question the drum would want to answer. The next morning, he returned to the square alone and stood before the drum. With all the courage he could muster, he spoke aloud, "What story have you been waiting to tell?" At first, there was only silence, and Tunda's heart sank. But just as he turned to leave, the drum let out a soft, rhythmic beat. Slowly, the beat grew louder, and Tunda gasped. The drum was speaking. Through its rhythmic sounds, the drum told the story of the village's ancestors, how they lived in harmony with nature, how they created music to communicate with the spirits, and how the drum was made to keep their memory alive. The story wasn't written down but passed on through songs, dances, and the very beats of the drum. When the story ended, Tunda realized that the drum had never truly stopped speaking. The village had simply forgotten how to listen. He rushed to Ms. Amina and the other children and told them what happened. That evening, the whole village gathered around the talking drum, and for the first time in years, they listened. The children danced, the elders sang, and everyone celebrated their heritage, knowing that their stories, like the drum's rhythm, would never fade. From that day on, Tunda made sure that every story he learned was shared with others, just like the talking drum had shared its tale with him. Moral: stories connect us to our past, teach us about our present, and guide us into the future. And sometimes, all we need to do is ask the right question to discover